Okay, friends, I've been battling back and forth on whether or not to post this. Part of this is IP and it's not. And uh, this always gets sticky with companies like ours. So let me take a second to explain why that is. Companies like ours, Win Spectrum, the IP conversation is kind of tricky. And because a lot of our IP is logic, common sense, experience, expertise, and really all things sales. And, for those of you who worked with us, we're pretty damn confident in the outcomes that we can provide you. Um, but I think one of the big reasons that I personally love what we do is we're former executives, we're former salespeople, we're former SDRs. In fact, today we still do all that stuff for our own business. But most importantly, is we understand that the things that are created in an organization, whether they're playbooks or processes or methodologies, they matter. They hit directly to your revenue. I mean, these things, if you're going to build them for a purpose. So when we talk about playbooks, we normally charge for these, and the ones who have taken us up on it over these years have, I'll tell you what they've noticed. It's a weapon their competition doesn't have. And we've built hundreds of these. When I was a CRO, I built tons of them too. And what they allowed me to do is understand what it took for my team to achieve success as we went along. But they solidified our hypotheses. And what it does is it gives you the control over the type of units and teams that you create and allows you to get to know your business inside and out. And so a couple of things. There are probably three scenarios if you're watching this, maybe four. You got this and you're interested, fine. If you're trying to do this on your own, next couple minutes of this video will get you started. But if you need some help, shoot over what you have, Charles at winspectrum.com, and my team and I'll take a look over it and we'll give you a few pointers if you'd like them. If you're looking to hack something together using this video, as if this is going to be the be all end all, you can probably do it. But remember how important this is for the people it's intended to help and spur forward. This is something that is worth getting right the first time. So give it its due attention. Now, if you're one of those organizations, which many are, where you've either screwed this up, you don't have them, you're starting to realize that you need one, you've got three, four, five, eight of them to build, depending on the teams and revenue structure you have, and you want to deep dive before you get too into it, reach out. We'll help you. Let's talk about it. All that said, playbooks. Okay. The big mindset we have to get ourselves on here is an honesty we have to have is most of these historically are created in order to train or guide a team. The best, the ones you want to be building, are created from a team. And the reason I say this is because playbooks come at the end. They're a summary of all the learnings and the applications that we've had to be able to answer a very simple question. This is not the testing ground or iteration ground on what might work for our company. Now, we look at historically, I mean, chess players, they memorize and apply through documentation and iteration the perfect openings, the defenses they have to play, all these types of things. Chefs, they have recipe cards and tributaries they go down to create their specialties. Sports teams have used playbooks for decades. And all of these create this totality in their mind, both mental and physical possessions, to answer the very simple question: how can I ensure my opportunity to win consistently? So, today I'm going to teach you how to set your playbook up for success, how to think about the build, and the big components that must be there. And I promise, for those of you who get the power of this, it'll change the way you do your work across your function. Now, before we go into this, you may have seen a recent post on LinkedIn that we had where it shows you what the cost to your business is on $1 million quota at 60, 70, 80, and 90% attainment. These individuals who are not at 100% are costing you anywhere from $8,000 to $33,000 per person per month. This is a way to get some of that revenue back. Now, this only works if certain conditions are met. So let's get into it. Number one, you have a fully mapped out sales process. This means You know your stages, you know the iterations and hoops your customers and you have to jump through in order to get them to understand the power of your product, to tie it to a challenge they may have, and to present them their solution, negotiate favorable outcomes for both parties. Most companies do not have a clue about their sales process, from startups all the way to some of the largest Fortune level companies that we've dealt with. They have no clue on what a proper sales process is. And for those of you listening, Medic, Medpic, BANT, Tempo, insert your acronym here. They are not sales processes. Now, second is you understand your most critical conversations. Again, another area where companies struggle so mightily and where enablement should be securing your beachhead. If you have an AE, let's take this as an AE playbook example. If you have a team of account executives and they do not understand the most critical conversations that they need to be having and understand what great looks like and have mastered what that is to the slimmest and most narrow degree, then you don't understand this at all and you have revenue leakage. Number three, you know what skills are required for success in this role. This is not an agnostic playbook for everyone in the organization to use. This is for a very specific persona, a very specific role within your revenue organization. You need to know the skills that go in there. I will give you an example. Let's say part of your process is to run let's say discovery. Okay. Now, in discovery, from the basics, you need to teach your people how to open the meeting. And within that, there are welcomes, there are introductions, there are purposes, there are agendas, there are all these other things that go into that. Each of those has its own skills. Now, once you get further in the conversation, there's the actual meat of it, the questions you're going to ask, the framework you're going to follow, the mechanics you're going to use to extract all of that. If you have not distilled this for your organization and you're more than, I don't know, 6 to 8 people deep, you are in big trouble. Now, number 4, leaders must care about this. Not the fact they have a team or they can make a bunch of money or all this kind of stuff, or that they want everyone to achieve success or they don't want to have hard conversations, all that crap. What you want is leaders saying, we need this playbook to be exceptional. If you don't have that, find it. If you are supposed to be that person, be that person. Number 5, and to me the most important, when you build assets for a team, I don't care if you're building marketing assets, sales assets, playbooks, internal, external, whatever it is, you're making a promise. For our specific purpose today, when it comes to a sales playbook, revenue playbook, you are making a promise to the people that are going to be using it that this is the best that your organization can produce given all the knowledge and historical data it has. This is a commitment you're making. This is part of servant leadership. This is part of investing in your people, not around them. So if you have those 5 conditions met, let's keep going, baby. All right. Now, quick note for startups and founders. If you have less than 10 people, if you're short on data, if you don't have the historical motions that you've gone through, attempts that you've had to secure revenue, save revenue, reduce churn, increase your net dollar retention, whatever it might be, whatever outcome or metric that you're tying these individuals to. If you don't have a full, very clear understanding of how everything they do impacts outcomes, how you make a dollar, so to speak, stop. Bring them into the room. You're a small team. You should be able to collaborate as such. Listen to the ideas. Iterate, test. And once you have gone from hypotheses to proof to fact, no longer theory, that's when you're ready to input that piece into a playbook. Okay, now let's assume we've had these conditions met. Shameless plug for WinSpectrum here. If you want us, check us out. It's awesome. Okay, let's take our AE playbook. You may be asking yourself, why the hell are there only 5 categories? Well, there aren't only 5, but these are the 5 most important. There are many, many more that you will find that you need to add into your playbook, but at the bare minimum, it must have these 5. And I would suggest doing them in this particular pattern. Move the order around that makes the most sense for you. Test it, make sure it actually reads well. But let's get into it. 5 big pieces: expectations, management, interactions, processes, and resources. So we're going to take one at a time, then we'll break one down a little specifically. You'll notice underneath each of these labels, there are cross-manager enablement, cross-enablement. The expectations are cross-functional. You will need multiple people to complete this piece. Management takes a single person. Interactions, your enablement team, should you not have one, this becomes a group effort. If your enablement team is weak, this will expose it. It's a great test to give them. Sales processes, same thing. We want to have cross-functional. As a sales leader, as the enablement leader, whoever in your organization is creating this with and or for you, there are processes that you'll need to follow. We'll talk about those in a minute. Then there's resources. This should be enablement owned. Again, if you don't have an enablement team, who is the person who is responsible for coaching and training your people aside from your frontline leadership? If you don't have this, invest in somebody. Now, let's take it one step at a time. Expectations. Why do we have this? Well, because we don't make it clear. Read your job description. What do you have? We're a rocket ship. It's fun to work here. You get all these benefits. Comp is equal or equal opportunity employer. Wonderful. You have responsibilities and requirements. Where the hell are your expectations? Where in your interview process do you talk expectations? Where have you written that out for your organization on what the expectations for the role are? What the expectations for the team is, what the expectation from the company to you as an individual is. This must be in here. It's got to be clear. Everyone has to be rowing in the same direction. If you don't have this marked out as part of your talent development scheme, as part of your role description when you hire people, I would question what the hell you're actually doing. Now, management. This one we're going to dive a little bit deeper into. 3 categories under here. How will they be managed? When will they be managed? And why will they be managed in this certain way? One of the biggest things that companies fail to do to get their people on their side to achieve loyalty is that they hide the why. You've noticed over the last couple of years, there have been these kind of large layoffs and things happen, right? Economy's been tough. But the best companies in the world continue to hire when they get through the tough moments. Let's keep their momentum because they are able and willing and understand the power of sharing why businesses make certain decisions. Same thing in a playbook. Your manager, the manager of this team, should write this piece. How will they be managed? What do their one-on-one structure look like? Let's take a look. How will the feedback be given? How will progress be tracked? How will they receive coaching? How is their day-to-day going to be impacted by you? It's your job. You better know. When will one-on-ones be and why? When will team meetings be and why? When will we forecast and why and how? When will my coaching take place? When will my performance be reviewed? When do you expect revenue to be retired over the course of the year? How do you want me pacing relative to your management style? And all of that with why. I want to be able to go in here as an individual and get to know my manager, because I know most managers are going to spend time with people that have a lot of pipeline and that are closest to revenue. As somebody who may not be there, I need to understand how I get time on your calendar. I need to understand how I become important to you, because most managers don't make everyone important. Now, interactions. This is the one that I harp on the most. You'll see us at Win Spectrum. We talk about this. We teach this all the damn time. Conversations, skills, and training. If you do not understand the conversations your people have to be having down to the skill degree for each piece of that conversation, then you do not have a sales process, a methodology, a qualification framework, whatever you want to call it. You don't have it. You have no way of measuring your people. You have no way of assessing people. You have no way of understanding what good looks like, and you have no idea what kind of training is going to help them get better. You are guessing at what your talent needs. In your playbook, this must be very clear. I'll give you an example. In Discovery, here are the 26 skills. Here are where those skills are taught. Here's how we teach them. Here's the expectation of each skill. Here's some examples of what great looks like for all of it. And here's where you can get more. If you don't have a minimum of that, fix that. Then we have processes. This is going to be cross-functional. How do we follow our sales process? What does that look like? What is contained into that? Now, internally, what processes do we have to follow? This is how often do notes need to be updated? How do I request assistance with the deal? How do I Price, how do I quote, how do I get approvals, all the stuff that happens within the deal within our sales process. Now, internally, what are those processes? Customer facing. How do I request a solution engineer? How do I get a case study? How do I get referrals? How do I get references? All these types of things. What are the processes in your company to create these things? What is everything this individual needs to know around the processes they need to have within their role? Very simple. Most companies will build them to put this in the playbook as the first time. If that's your case, stop. Put it coming soon and test it. But do not put anything that you have not validated as the right way to do things in your company. There are no such thing as placeholders for until we get this right. If it's a placeholder, it doesn't go in. This should be a note to you of what you need to add to your knowledge base skill set in order to give to your people. Lastly, resources. Again, this should be from your enablement team, your process team, maybe ops. I mean, this should be a little bit cross-functional, but enablement should own grabbing all this. Now, what are the resources in addition to everything that's been covered before that the role might need? This can be dependent on company. Maybe you have a special solutioning piece of your project. Maybe you keep the account for a year after it's been closed. What the hell do you do with it? Maybe you handle renewal conversations. All of that stuff. What are the resources that you're going to need to be able to do your role? Access to technology, how to use the damn technology. One of the biggest mistakes I make is to say, hey, we use Vidyard or Loom or a video prospecting tool. Awesome. Love it. How? What does great look like? Don't tell me it's available. Teach me how you want me using this. What's worked? What resource do I need in my deals? How do I leverage Guru inside of my meetings? How do I look at Gong and inspect my deals? How do I assess myself? And then how do I develop myself? What's next for me? How do I get that next role? How do I achieve, that promotion? How do I get more money? How do I earn better comp? How do I earn different quota? How do I move from AE to AM or CSM or into leadership? How? Because as a seller, as an individual that's coming onto a team that is here to achieve success, look, nobody takes a job saying, oh, I hope I get to 50% of my plan. No, they know they're getting fired for that. Sellers, individuals who have in their companies are smart, smarter than ever, perhaps. And you hire them thinking they have a particular set of skills, and maybe they do. But those skills may or may not transfer into the role that they have. And this is a big mistake companies make. Just because somebody tells you or has told you that they've done these things before, you need to test them. The last piece on this. When you build a playbook, you build it for the team you have. Now, if you have a team that you're not proud of, then don't build the damn playbook. Get a team that you're proud of. You cannot build it for a team that you hope exists at some point. You can't build it for skills that aren't in your walls. You can't build it for a leader that isn't going to be there in 6 months. This is a way of aligning your organization from top to bottom on how we move forward with the role that is critical for our existence. Getting a playbook right may seem small, but it is an enormous lift to getting your revenue consistent. From having quarters that go like, ooh, 10%, 10%, then 80. You want to flatten out your quarters. You want consistent revenue attainment. It's about understanding how each of your roles either acquires or saves a dollar and creates an incredible customer experience or prospect experience in the process. The reason most companies have churn problems, why their board won't give them more money, why it's hard to seek investment, especially for earlier companies, is because their metrics are skewed. The playbook is the way of right-sizing the metrics for every role. So that when you cascade goals down, if you have a talent management or succession planning initiative at your company, whether small or large, that you can go in and say, hey, we're launching a new team in EMEA. We're going to add a new function. Well, now we know how to build a playbook for that. We understand what it takes to get there, and we understand how to build processes and frameworks inside of our organization to help a group of individuals drive and steer toward a common outcome. And now that we have a baseline, we can track the variables over time of what people, and we can influence this playbook. But build it for the team you have today, not the one you think you will have. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was valuable. For those of you needing some more help, you know how to get after us. Charles at winspectrum.com, winspectrum.com. Charles Morton, look us up on LinkedIn. We'll talk soon.